You ever had one of those weeks where things just didn't work out as planned? This was kind of one of those weeks. Let me explain a little bit. Last week I went and added Camino news to my website. The idea was to create some content that would always bring people to the website that's fresh and engaging and interesting and valuable for them. So I use the word authentic a lot. It would be authentic content that helps them walk and plan the Camino. Great idea. Problem was, busy week like normal. We all have day jobs. I'm trying to do this on the side. I thought everything was working and running properly. I went back to check it a week later so I could create the follow-up video, show the traffic growth, everything would be good. Cron job wasn't working, or something wasn't working on the website, that the news wasn't updating. It was stuck on the last day that I ran it. So I assumed it was going to be the cron job, the scheduled job that wasn't working and running. So the first thing I did is I went in and checked on the database. Now I have it running inside Supabase. I created a Camino news table, and I should expect the cron job to update the data in there. I kind of expected it to be writing to the database. So let's have a look, and maybe it just wasn't pulling it from the cron job settings. So here's my Camino news on the daily basis, which pulls those items from the subtable. But it doesn't look like any new records are actually being created. So there's something wrong with the cron job. I need to kind of dig into that. All right, well, data's not being written to Supabase. Let's go and check the cron job and make sure it's running inside vercel. So I have it running here under cron jobs to run at 6 a.m. every morning. Let's go ahead and run it and look at the logs. Now it doesn't even seem to be running because I don't see any logs, so it kind of just makes it a little bit hard to debug. So I think we're going to have to jump over to Cline and figure out what's going on. So the cron job is there, it's just not running. So I'm back inside Cline. I'm just going to see why something isn't working. I don't really know at this point what's going on, so let's just ask Cline to maybe give me a little bit of info. So I can see inside vercel that the cron job is set up, but it's not running. There's no data inside Supabase, so I'm kind of not really sure where to start, but Cline might give me some hints. I'm going to start with a pretty broad prompt and see what comes back. Now this is your typical vibe coding where you're just trying to figure things out, let it go. But what seems to be happening is that things are timing out. So I'm running on a pretty low-level plan inside vercel and Supabase, but I'm not sure if that's the full problem. I think I'm just going to let it run and see if we can actually update and check everything. So it's potentially the environment variables, but I know that's not the case because I have those set up correctly. I checked those earlier, but it might actually be something to do with a timeout issue, which would kind of make sense. If the job never ran or completed, I wouldn't see those logs. So let's just kind of check it out a little bit more. This is kind of the point that's always tricky, especially as you start. Like I don't quite know exactly where to start because there's no logs. But I've certainly found that Cline in plan mode helps me just get an overall idea and some suggestions, and then I can start to kind of dig in and decompose things a little bit better. So this is pretty cool. It's come back and said, okay, don't see cron jobs, give the agent just a little bit more information, let it run a little bit more and see if it comes back with some ideas. None of these look great, but let's see if it's got any more ideas. So Cline knows that if I click run, shows no functions. Oh, this is cool. So I didn't actually realize because I didn't create this. I let Cline create it, but I can just run the news generate, and it threw back an error, which I've just kind of screenshotted and pasted straight inside here. Give it to Cline, and that should give us a bit more. So it's complaining with a 504 and effectively saying that everything is timed out. So therefore, nothing is showing. So it's nice. I get my logs, I get my information. Now that I've got an error code, I can start to kind of debug some things here. So it's definitely a timeout issue here. So let's switch it over to act mode and let's let Cline do its job. This sort of process would typically take me maybe an hour to find and figure it out, but at least with Cline, it starts to figure out the points where I need to fix it, and then I can start asking more valid questions. So I've let it run. It's already gone through and updated the code so it manages the timing much better for me. Okay, so here's my error that was before. Redeployed my app. Let's see if the cron job is working. And more importantly, let's see if we can see some logs here. So we'll run it again. Run my Camino guide. Make sure everything is up. Click on Camino news. Okay, let's reload the page. Make sure everything is right here. Still doesn't look like it's populating the data on the website. Okay, I know the cron job is running now. Let's just check the database and make sure that it's writing data correctly. So I should see an updated record in my Camino news. So let's go back and check that one. Just check the data. Everything working well. I think I've fixed the timeout issue. Okay, that looks good. I'm getting the data here. Let's just check out the website. I don't think it's going to update. I think there's a caching issue inside vercel and my app, but let's just run it and check it out. Okay, so it still looks like it's not updating, but we're halfway there. All right, back inside Cline here. So I know it's right into the database. Job is running. Let's figure out what is going on with the caching on the application. I'm pretty sure it's just something to do with here. So let's go and start with a pretty broad prompt again. Right now, I'm just going to run it inside Act because I'm close enough to know that I don't need to plan on what to fix. I know what needs to fix. I just need to let Cline do its job for me. Right, let's let that run, see what it looks like. Checking all the information in the database. Okay, so now it's adding the dynamic force feature, so it's no longer going to cache anything for me. It's always going to pull the recent information. So that should solve the problem of it not searching for the latest information. Let's push that up to GitHub, redeploy our application in vercel, and test it out one more time. So I've set it to force dynamic, no cache, so it's always going to revalidate and run and pull the information. Okay, we've redeployed. Let's check our news. If we're lucky, everything will work. All right, now that is looking much better. We are all done. So there you have it. We fixed our caching. It's probably not the video I was planning on writing this week, and honestly, I've been crazy busy with other activities, but I said to myself I would stay committed to creating these videos. When I went and checked that the news was not working, I wanted to jump in and figure out why, and I thought that was a good topic to create for the video. In the end, there was two parts. The actual job itself to fetch the data was timing out, was getting a 504 error and therefore never writing to the database. Once I fixed that, my web app itself was caching the results of the page. So I set to dynamic caching, always invalidate, always pull the latest. Once I had those two changes, pushed everything up to vercel, reloaded, redeployed my application, and it's now pulling the information together. So go check it out. Make sure it's good. And don't forget, if this is interesting content, I don't know all the answers that I'm trying to do. It's a real world example of trying to build a business with AI. I encourage you to like and subscribe. I'm just going to keep at it. This is important to me and I am committed to it. So we'll see you on the next one.